call this meeting to order. We can all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I did. Got thrown over there. Okay, so we have a little bit of, we have some folks that are having to call in today. Some folks are on vacation, so just
Okay.
bear with us.
Do you want to call Julie's phone when you're able to?
We
call
have
her?
a roll call.
Okay, all right. All right, thanks, Bob.
Mrs. Albright?
Here.
Mrs.
He's not
Bell?
able to get on yet.
Absent. Mr. Jurick?
Here.
Mrs. Leone? Here. Ms. Olafson?
Here.
Mr. Rittenhouse?
Steve? Mr. Rittenhouse, you there?
Here.
Mr. Scott?
He is not here.
Here. Mr. Strobel?
Here.
And Mrs. Thompson present.
Okay, so all right, so we have seven here, 2 absent, is that correct? Yeah. And it's time for the superintendent's report. Dr. Cooper.
Hey, thank you, Madam President. I have just a couple items this evening. Just want to inform the board that currently we have over 60 students at our high school, juniors and seniors, that are participating in various internal and out-of-district internship experience thus far in 22-23 school year, which is well above last year's mark for the entire year, and here we are sitting at the end of February. So Ms. Rapchinsky has done a fine job in continuing to grow that program, and our students are doing a great job in getting those experiences and participating in those various experiences through internships. And the second item is we have, and I'm looking forward to attending the middle school theater or show coming up the end of next week, High School Musical Junior. And best of luck to our middle school cheer in their upcoming national competition next weekend, as well as our 2 high school District 3 wrestling champions in their upcoming state wrestling championships, as well as our unified bocce team in representing the South Conference at regionals coming up. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Dr. Cooper. Any questions or comments from the board for Mr. Cooper? We have under added consent, added items, agenda edits. We have 1E1, is that right? No, I don't know. A 3A1. We have an added item under 5, finance added consent. 5A2 is being stricken and replaced. It's basically, the only change is to change the date, the start date. Can I get a motion for that change? The new one would read, motion to approve board release effective April 15th, 2023 through June 30th, 2027 at an annual cost of $256,243.13 as presented and recommended by the Technology Committee. Can I get a motion for that agenda edit?
I'll make the motion.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Because it's an added, a change to the printed agenda, we do have to have a vote. Do we have any discussion on the adding to the agenda before we vote? Can I get a vote?
Mr. Jurick?
Yes.
Mrs. Leone? Yes. Ms. Olafson?
Yes.
Mr. Rittenhouse?
Yes.
Mr. Scott? Mr. Strobel?
Yes.
Mrs. Thompson, yes. Ms. Albright?
Yes. Okay, thank you. Moving on to procedures for public participation. For those who attend a lot, we decided to move that agenda edit up in the lineup because it used to be after comment, and when I would make the agenda edit, then I would have to have an additional public comment period. So that's why it's where it is in the agenda now. For procedures for public participation, prepared statements that are to be read to the board should have a copy presented to the board president if available prior to their being addressed. Comments on agenda items will be made by rising and approaching the microphone, stating your name and address, and signing in on the sheet provided. You'll be granted up to 3 minutes to address the board. Your 3-minute time limit will start when you begin to speak. When 3 minutes are over, you will be asked to be seated. Any item that is not on the agenda, as well as agenda items acted upon, comments can be made at the designated section at the end of the agenda. So having said that, do we have any presentations by the public on agenda items? I see none. Let me go to announcements. So there will be an executive session after tonight's meeting to discuss personnel and negotiations. And now we have consent items. Consent items 3A, 1 through 15. Can I get a motion for those?
I'll make it.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Any discussion on any of those items? Can I get a vote?
Are we able, this is for 2 or 3? 3, right?
3, 1 through 15.
Okay, can we remove 6 and vote on that by itself, please?
Oh, sure. Can I have an amendment to vote for consent items 3, 1 through 15, with the exception of number 6? Are you okay with that amendment? Mr. Strobel, are you okay with that amendment?
Yeah.
So, any comments, questions, concerns about what we are going to vote on, which is 1 through 15, except for number 6? Okay, can we get a vote?
Mrs. Leoni?
Yes.
Ms. Olafson?
Yes.
Mr. Rittenhouse?
Yes.
Mr. Scott? Mr. Strobel?
Yes.
Mrs. Thompson, yes. Ms. Albright?
Yes.
Mr. Jurick?
Yes.
Okay. Can I get a motion for 3A6? I'll make that motion. Can I get a second?
I'll second it.
Mr. Strobel. Any discussion?
So I thought the books in the back were the version we were voting on.
Mhm.
I did not find out until tonight that they were the 2020 version, and I had to go online. I thought that the online and what we were looking at were the same. So I have not had enough time to look at the 2024 version that we're voting on. Like, I literally found that out at the time of the curriculum instruction meeting.
Yeah, the ones that are in the back there, that was what was, nothing more than that was available when the process for choosing
Correct. and I was
started.
unaware of that.
Okay. All right. Do we want to go around the room, or do you want me to hear? Why don't we go around the room? I'll go after you.
Okay. I saw a lot of the material that was in question, and I also saw, that it was removed and approved by Florida later, Board of Education, which I really feel confident that that board really has a lot to do with. They probably researched that a lot harder than I would have, just because I'm not a teacher. Obviously, that's not what I do for a living. But I was able to see that there was not, and we did review the books, and the seal thing for me made a big difference was receiving the letter from the vice president of the company saying there is no critical race theory in these books, and they were approved by the state of Florida Education Board, which is a very strict board in regards to any material like that. And then also too is to know that our teachers and our administration is now obviously on the lookout. We'll always be on the lookout for things that are questionable, and parents have the opportunity, if they see something questionable, we have a process that we can go through to try and correct those things. So the fact that 35 of our teachers spent 2.5 years looking at the material, and we're talking about math, and whether or not it's going to teach math good, they felt very comfortable that they would be able to utilize that information well, and so I'm just comfortable with it after our meeting.
Okay. So for the folks that don't come to the meetings as often, just to give you a little history, no matter what we do this year, whether we go with this program or a different program, we need a new math program because the one that we have now is not going to be around next year. We're not going to be able to continue to use it. So in 2020, our teachers started looking at options. They started out with 6 options that seemed reasonable, something that we could get our hands on, that had an online component and that was in our price range. They narrowed it down to 3, and then they narrowed it down to 1. It took them 2.5 years. There was input from everyone in the school district that teaches math, including our math specialists for our struggling learners, all the way up to the honors math kids, and kids that will be eventually hopefully be ready to take AP tests when they get older. This is not math for AP classes. This is math for K to 8, pre-algebra, algebra 1, algebra 2, and geometry, which takes us somewhat into the high school. So I was, the fact that our teachers put this effort into look at what they think hits all the standards that we need to hit per the state's standards that are required for us to teach, and that it hits the state standards at age-appropriate time, in an age-appropriate time frame, that if there's a standard that's supposed to be met by grade 4, it's not being taught it's not being introduced for the first time in grade 6, as an example. When I did my research over the weekend, the one thing that I was struck by when you go to Ed Reports, which is a nonpartisan, not-for-profit group that evaluates all test materials about whether or not it meets the requirements of standards that are expected to be met across this country. They grade them on a lot of different things, and this system, Envision Math, when you get to first of all, the whole Envision Math series, all the way up to geometry, was highly rated by this system. But when you look at student usability, as far as do students feel that the math that's in there is presented in a way that they can understand it and they can work within it's not just like, I don't get it, and then that's all there is. The K to 5 math was given a grade for student usability of 36 out of 38, so almost perfect. But the middle school math program from this group was given a perfect score for student usability, 38 to 38. And if you look at our standardized test scores, middle school is where we lose kids. It's where we start seeing kids saying, I can't do math. I don't know how to do math. I'm bad at math. And nobody should automatically feel that way when they get to high school. If we can stop losing so many kids at the middle school level, we'll have more success in teaching these concepts, I think, to kids. So that's what I had discovered that is leading into how I intend to vote yes. So, did you have anything you wanted to add?
I feel like I said my piece at curriculum and instruction.
Okay.
I agree with everything Kevin said, and I'm ready to vote on it.
Okay. Mr. Jurick, do you have anything you wanted to offer for the good of the cause before we vote?
The only thing I had to say, Julie, is that I'm concerned that the curriculum committee members apparently weren't reviewing the most recent material.
It's what was,
So I don't get.
go ahead.
Go ahead.
It's what was available in paper form, the
Right, but
2024.
right, but there was an
information.
online version, right?
Yeah, the 2024 component is available online, it's just not available in paper yet.
Right. So has anybody reviewed the 2024 textbook material?
I have reviewed what's available online. I have not reviewed it exhaustively, but I have reviewed what's available online.
So I think the question is the textbooks, they're online. It's the textbook version online.
It's not going to be online only,
No,
we're
no,
going to
I'm
have
saying-
paper
I'm saying
versions.
We don't have the textbooks, but we could view them online.
Right.
So, but they were reviewed. I just want to make sure Russ
Yeah.
understands. There's not an online and a textbook. The textbooks were available online,
Yeah,
and they were reviewed by some.
Right. So the textbooks are available online. They weren't reviewed. Were they not reviewed because nobody knew they were available online until until a short period of time? I mean, that's what I'm hearing. Is that there wasn't enough time to go online to review the material that you're going to vote
Julia, that's correct.
for a 4-year contract for $600,000. I guess what I'm
don't
saying is the
understand.
curriculum.
I just don't understand why somebody who's on the curriculum instruction committee didn't know that it was available.
Well, Julia,
And I'm-
That's my question.
Julia, this is my first
That's
time
my question, Julia.
doing it,
And I'm not on the
Angela
curriculum.
sent me that. She absolutely did.
She sent it to me, but I didn't know that version and the online version were
You just
different.
didn't realize they were different versions.
Right,
We
and this is the
had
first
it.
time I'm ever voting on a curriculum, so I was unaware of that.
I mean, the online stuff has been available for months, and I don't know how much is different between what's back
Maybe
there and
that's
what's.
why there needs to be some transparency for people who've never done this before. They've never voted on curriculum, because this is important
I
to our
understand.
parents, to our kids, and so,
I agree, but I just have a question. When's the first time you saw the books?
the beginning of February,
Okay.
maybe it was January, somewhere around there. I don't remember if it was the last meeting in January, the first meeting in February.
We've been here for.
But I have reviewed the books back there, yes. But not the ones we're voting on.
All right, I'm sorry, continue, Mr. Jerick, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, that's fine. I guess the only thing that I'm saying is that I want to make sure that the curriculum committee, if they're going to be recommending this, which is my understanding of what a committee should be doing, right, is making the recommendation to the board after they've reviewed the material. So if they're comfortable with it, then I'm comfortable with it.
The
I
committee,
just want to make sure that the committee feels that they've had enough time to review, and if they weren't aware of what they needed to review, that they're given the opportunity to review it.
when the committee met in January, there were not enough members of that committee here to give a recommendation, because you need to at least have 3 out of the 4 members here. So there
Okay.
hasn't been a recommendation to come out of committee.
Ah,
It doesn't say that here on the agenda, but that's the reason why. Not because they refuse to ask. You can't just have 2 people out of 4 say yay or nay, and because that doesn't matter, because that's not a majority.
right. You have to have a quorum
Yeah.
to move it out of committee.
Right.
Right. So is that the reasoning that the committee? So that's the reasoning that the committee didn't make a recommendation on this, is because they didn't have enough people to recommend it out of committee?
Correct.
Okay.
It wasn't a down vote, and we're still voting on it. We were not able to have a vote in January. Mr. Rittenhouse?
Okay.
Yes. My concern with this Savvis system is that looking on their website here, I do show some concerns with the company itself about their ability to provide us with the best program available. Their motivations seem to be aligned more with different business models, not necessarily providing its customers with the best product. So with the school board having to pay $600,000 on this, I suggest we try to get the best available, the best product we can, and not one that tries to act as a charity organization as opposed to a business, in my opinion.
The only thing I will say is that, you know, the teachers here have, you know, they've spent the last 2.5 years, like, reviewing what's out there on the market, and this was their recommendation, that this was the best, most flexible system for both in school, in classroom, and online to get the kids up to snuff on the standards that are required by the state. You know, regardless of where the company's funding comes from, I guess.
We do use the company for healing.
We do use the company already for English language arts. Now, that doesn't mean that we have to go with these guys for math. It absolutely doesn't mean that. And we don't use them for the AP exam. We don't use them for AP. We don't use them for pre-calc or trig at the higher levels. But for the foundationals, the school district teachers recommended that this was the best system for our kids. So that's, you know, I just keep coming back to that. And I know that, you know, us being here, it's not a rubber stamp, you know, but, you know, this committee was everybody who teaches math in the school district. I mean, I can't discount that. So, anybody else want to say anything before we vote from the board?
I know something that I didn't bring up earlier was some of the reviews that I found online. They were saying their customer service is lacking. They were saying that the program is actually very confusing for kids. I'm trying to go through some of these here.
Are they Google reviews?
No, they're from websites. The actual parent websites. And you know, Mrs. Owens, like I said, we do use Savvis, and we do have to get help from them, customer service wise, and that might be other people's experience, but that has not been our experience with them, which I was surprised about when I saw some of the poor customer service ratings they got online. That has not been our experience, and I don't mean that hasn't been our experience when we're dealing with a vendor trying to get our business. Like, they have been responsive when dealing with us for the things that we've already spent money on too. Well, this one family has said that they have to teach at home because what their child is getting at school is not enough, and their child is confused. So I went through. I have about 15 of these that I went through. So,
and math is definitely confusing. I'm not saying that any one child won't still struggle, but from what I was able to see online at edreports.org, according to them, they give it the highest ratings, especially at the middle school level, for student usability. And I don't think they ask adults those questions. I think they bring in actual students to, you know, to figure out if they find it confusing. One thing I did like about that, one of the things that I liked as a personal thing, again, this is just an anecdote. Anecdote isn't research and it's not science. But when I was looking at some of the stuff, especially in the 5th grade math, we're getting into that point where we're starting to, you know, introduce the concept of X, of solving an equation, very preliminarily. But what I saw in the area to work for, the workbook, it would have Like, let's try to solve this problem the way I tell you to. And then it's like, okay, is that frustrating? Is that like not working for you? Here's 3 other ways you can solve the problem. Now, and I, as a student, would have liked that because I don't always think in the same way that the teacher's teaching the stuff. So having it in front of me, like knowing that you can get to the answer in math, even though there's only one right answer in math usually, but knowing you can get from the top of the problem to the bottom of the problem in many, many different ways, I find that to be helpful for students, and that's the kind of thing that I would think would impact whether or not a student would find it usable.
And the other point that I kind of made in the last meeting that I kind of want to repoint because of Kevin's response about this is that, yes, Florida did approve it. However, we have no idea what Florida's books look like and if their books are different from our books. And that's why I'm saying I want to be able to review all the actual 2024 books before I make a decision on this.
So Julia,
Yes.
can we table the vote until the committee has had a chance to review the online material?
Can I get a vote on, can I get a motion on whether or not we table? Does anybody want to make that motion?
We've already made a motion to vote on it.
I know.
So I
But
think
if we
can
make,
vote
if we
forward.
make a motion to table, we can table it.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, so do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we'll table it until next meeting. Okay, moving on to personnel. Got personnel 4A.
Excuse me, I
Yeah.
just have a question.
Yeah,
How can we make a motion, just procedural wise, we make a motion to vote on something, and 2 of 9 want to table it, maybe the other 7 don't want to table it?
that's just,
that
that's the
works?
rules of order, right?
I just want to make sure, it doesn't make sense to me, but
Yeah, I think that you can proceed just the way that we just did to table it. This would also need a majority vote of the full board just to adopt a textbook, just confirmed section 508, so this might be something that you would want all 9 members for.
Okay, all right. All right, so 4A, 1 through 3, personnel consent items. Do I get a motion for that?
I'll make it.
I have a second?
I'll second.
Second.
Okay, any comments, questions, concerns under personal consent? Can we get a vote?
Ms. Olafson,
Yes.
Mr. Rittenhouse,
Yes.
Mr. Strobel,
Yes.
Mrs. Thompson, yes. Ms. Albright,
Yes.
Mr. Jarrett,
Yes.
Mrs. Leone,
Yes.
Is that everybody? There's so few.
Did you get
There
Mr.
should be
Rittenhouse?
more.
Did you get Mr. Rittenhouse?
Did you get Mr. Rittenhouse?
yes.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Thank you. I'm sorry. All right, so moving on to finance added consent, 5A, 1 through 8 as amended. Can I get a motion for that?
I'll make it.
Can I get a second? I'll second. As you can see, some of this stuff was what was discussed in the Facilities and Transportation Committee meeting last time with all of our HVAC issues. Any comments, questions, concerns? Can I get a vote?
Mr. Rittenhouse,
Are you there,
Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
Mr. Strobel,
Yes.
Mrs. Thompson, yes. Ms. Albright,
Yes.
Mr. Jarrett,
Yes.
Mrs. Leone,
Yes.
Ms. Olafson.
Yes. Okay. Program added consent, 6A, 1 to 2. Can I get a motion for that?
Motion.
Yes.
Okay, Mrs. Albright, Mr. Strobel, will you second?
I would.
All right. Comments, questions, concerns on programs out of consent? Can I get a vote?
Mr. Strobel,
Yes.
Mrs. Thompson, yes. Ms. Albright,
Yes.
Mr. Jurick,
Yes.
Mrs. Leone,
Yes.
Ms. Olson,
Yes.
Mr. Rittenhouse,
Yes.
motion passes.
Okay. Under personnel out of consent, 7A, 1 through 4. Can I get a motion for that?
I'll make it.
I'll second.
Okay. Any comments, questions, concerns? Can I get a vote?
Mrs. Thompson, yes. Ms. Albright, Mr. Jurick,
Yes.
Mrs. Leone,
Yes.
Ms. Olson,
Yes.
Mr. Rittenhouse,
Yes.
Mr. Strobel,
Yes.
motion passes.
Thanks. Old business, 8A1. Can I get a motion for that?
I'll make it.
Can I get a second? I'll second it. Comments, questions, concerns? Can I get a vote?
Ms. Albright,
Yes.
Mr. Jurick,
Yes.
Mrs. Leone,
Yes.
Ms. Olson,
Yes.
Mr. Rittenhouse,
Yes.
Mr. Strobel,
Yes.
Mrs. Thompson, yes. Motion passes.
Okay. 9, new business, we don't have anything, but it is time for presentations by the public on issues.
Chris Markle, First Carl Street, Firstboro. I do have to get another comment on this math stuff, the
Okay.
math program. If you have board members that have valid concerns, whether or not it took 2.5 years for our math teachers to go through this process, and these are valid concerns that, and even the parents, I mean, we are your stakeholders. You know, you guys have been gracious enough, most of you, to listen to us and have conversations. But I think that's the best thing that you could have done was table it to look into this more. I also want to know, can parents have access to what you're looking at online to see what the 2024 version is? I want to see, because I will go through page by page. And I will look and make sure that what's on there is right for our kids, and that there's nothing questionable. So, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
I was only able to get 2 copies before I got here.
Okay.
And my kids
Don't
use the color a
Trip.
lot, so it's black and white.
Ah.
Melissa Marquez, Birdsboro. So back on 9/12, PTC got the word out my daughter's idea on the bike bench in honor of Roman's honor. My daughter adored Roman. She was in class with him every year from kindergarten till 4th grade. When unfortunately his life was gone way too soon. PTC reached out to me, loving the idea. They got approval. Principal got approved it. A family also approved it. I was told to have my daughter review what can be written on the bench, as you can see in the papers. My daughter, Alexa, since it was her idea, picked out "A life that touches others goes on forever" and Roman's name on it, above or below it.
everything was approved. Can I ask why this has not been put into PC and IC? Because apparently you were told that one bench would go to PC and one bench IC, the bike bench. I'm not sure if you guys are aware of this. They can pass that on to you. My oldest daughter, I spoke to her about this. She was very upset as she lost a close friend also while in high school in 9th grade, Sierra. Not sure if you guys know of her. She told me how she was forgotten too. How everybody in her graduation class, 2016, asked the high school not to empty her locker for the remaining year. And it was emptied and a new student took it over. My daughter, it was a very good friend of hers. She's very upset about this. She told me the only time her name was mentioned was when she was supposed to cross to graduate. Can we talk about mental health? I've been asking over and over again. I asked, and you guys are supposed to answer my questions, but my question is not getting answered. Can we start this in our district? I mean, what's wrong with it? Why are we putting this down? You're making the kids look like they can't ask for help. It really bothers me. We're doing fundraisers for kids that got in an accident. We have colors for certain students. I'm all for that. I'm not saying nothing bad about it. But where's Roman? What happened to him? Yeah, why isn't he being mentioned? This is a little boy that went from kindergarten till 4th grade with my daughter every year in this district. What happened? Because I know Mom would love his name on that bench and it put here. I know that for a fact. Also, I would like to, math, real quick. So my daughter's in high school. When I moved here to Pennsylvania, I was from New Jersey. When we transitioned, she totally missed out on a whole part of math. I begged and asked, and why wasn't that given to her, that part that she missed?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Juliana, am I allowed to ask a question about that real quick? It's very simple. Is that, the benches, is that something we have to approve as a board?
We
or is
already
that-
approved it.
No, it's already approved through PCC,
Yeah, we already approved it.
principal, and family.
I thought it was too, I just wanted to
Yep.
double check.
So I was just asking why.
No, I understand. We'll get a status update for you. Anyone else?
I don't have to write my name again, do I?
Not again. No, it's fine.
This is with regards to the math. I would just ask that being this has been tabled, that everyone who didn't read the online version of 2024, it would be very wise if you went through it. I know there's letters, someone confirming and assuring stamp of approval, and I know there's lots of information, but I would ask that you still do the due diligence and read the textbook online, because obviously that's not available to the parents, and you guys are here and you dictate what our kids do or do not receive as far as math support. I also ask that you please look at the numbers. What are the stats for all the companies it is that you looked at? Who performed the best? Which kids performed the best? Statisticians are employed in this country and in this world for a reason, to show the numbers. And if we don't have the numbers, I highly recommend getting AP math students to do a senior project and have them present to the board their findings for the programs we have on staff. That way you guys have record of how students are performing, that you can actually look and think proactively when trying to improve test scores, when trying to improve, because what I mentioned before, the kids' literacy is really struggling. The one math program that I happened to look at, it was illustrative math. Right now we live in a day and age where kids are constantly looking at phones, iPads, computers, and they're more now visual learners than anything. Try to have them read a book to get a permit. I'm pretty sure they're going to be like, is there a podcast for it? But what I'm saying is when it comes to learning math, and when you're actually physically looking at something, like this company that I found is actually a newer company, and it actually takes you can even get Envision and use them as a hired support to then really improve their math instruction. This company is pretty lucrative. I'm not sure what the standard was, who selected the programs for the teachers to review, but if it was to make sure that they fit under this pocket of ESSER, the ESSER plan for the district, then I'm pretty positive you didn't look at the other platforms that could have been readily available to students that could have provided them the best support. So that's just my recommendation. Please go online, read the textbooks. Read the textbook, go line by line as much as you can, because you're going to be voting on it and you can't table it again. So that's my recommendation.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Danielle Diagonal of Amity. So far, all I've heard with these, as far as a math program, was Envision. What were the other programs that were in consideration, and what were the caps that you were willing to pay for them? Almost $600,000 just for Envision, okay. Is there any leftover funds to CYA? Because there's going to be, with any program, there's going to be issues, complications, there's certainly going to be complaints. So is there any funds left over to find a way to switch? Or are you going to be dead set and basically screwing our kids by being stuck in a system that now you're capping the funds at? Are you CYA? And like everybody else said, where are you finding these reputations and reliable sources? Because from what I've seen, nothing's looking good. How many of us have already said it? There's also been plenty of comments today. So are these funds going straight to an actual, reliable, reputable, trustworthy company? Or are these funds going into individual consultants and lining their pockets?
Thank you. Anyone else? All right.
I do have a question.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Do you guys have a curriculum that you mentioned there's a curriculum? Is there something that we can look into?
Sure. Yeah, I can send it.
Okay.
All right. 2 weeks from now, 10 days from now, 11 days from now, the middle school play starts. Get your tickets now. The 17th of March is the 50th anniversary jazz spectacular at the high school, and that we will be having a special guest. I can't remember his name. Who is an alumnus of Daniel Boone, who after he left here, he went to work for a brass house band called Lucky Chops, and if you have kids in jazz, you might know who they are, otherwise you won't. But he's very successful, and he's coming back to do a workshop with our jazz band, and he's going to perform with our kids, and we're very excited about it. And those tickets are also available. Just to let you know, we have voted today for the new football coach, and Coach O, because I can't pronounce his name. His last name is here. You want to stand up for a second? He's going to be our new football coach. Everybody, wish him well. He's been with our kids for a long time as assistant coach, right?
Yep, 6 years.
Yeah. So we wish him well, and that's going to work on that. It's going to start bright and early at the end of June, I'm assuming, right?
Yeah, we're in the
Or tomorrow. All right.
More.
And congratulations. All right. So I think I went through the list of the things that are coming up that I wanted to tell people about. So we have a motion to adjourn.
I'll make it.
and I will second. Have a good night, everybody.
Hey, Steve, for exec session?